Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. This is the last of the rhubarb recipes that you'll see for this summer. It might be our favorite. This is our Rabarberkage or rhubarb cake recipe. We grew up with a lot of rhubarb in the summer, so it's definitely a nostalgic flavor for us. And when you add it to a nice fluffy vanilla cake, you really can't go wrong. Plus, this is one of those recipes that you can make in under an hour. All right, let's get started. For this rhubarb cake, you're going to need 200 to 250 grams of chopped rhubarb. I just cut these into little 1/2 inch or 1 centimeter pieces. I also have 1.5 tablespoons of sugar that's gonna get mixed in here. And then separately, 200 grams of sugar, as well as 2 large eggs, 1/2 cup or 120 milliliters of milk. You're also gonna need 1/2 cup or 120 milliliters of vegetable oil. I'm gonna add in 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and last but not least, 250 grams of all-purpose flour. Before we actually start the recipe, make sure to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or around 175 degrees Celsius. First thing I'm gonna do is just add our sugar into our rhubarb, mix it up, and let that sit just so it can release a little bit of its juices in the bowl. We'll set this aside while we work on the rest of our ingredients. I'm just going to prep our dry ingredients by adding in a teaspoon of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of salt in with our flour and then whisking it together to make sure there aren't any lumps. And then setting this aside while we combine the rest of our ingredients. I have 120 milliliters of milk in here, and I'm just gonna add in my vegetable oil to the same horrible container so that we can add it together into the batter. The oil and the milk will not mix very well, but we're just gonna stir it together. I also recommend getting down on eye level and measuring this so that you can be sure you have the right amount. Also setting this aside until ready to use it. For this next part, you're either gonna need a stand mixer with the whisk attachment, or you can use a handheld mixer, or you can attempt to whip this up by hand. I'm gonna add in my eggs as well as the sugar, and then we're gonna whisk it together until it gets really nice and light and fluffy. The mixture should be nice and light and fluffy. Before we go any further, we're gonna add in our vanilla extract and just run the mixer until it's combined. You can measure this with an actual measuring spoon, but I'm just gonna eyeball it. Now we're gonna start the process of alternating adding in our wet ingredients and our dry ingredients. So I'm gonna start by adding in 1/2 of our wet ingredients and then just running the mixer until it's just combined. And then we're gonna add in 1/2 of our dry ingredients. If you want the most lump-free batter, I would definitely recommend sifting it, but I tend to just whisk it together and call it a day, honestly. So I'm gonna add in 1/2 of this. And now we'll add in the rest of the wet. And then the rest of our dry is going in. I'm just gonna make sure that nothing is sticking to the sides or the bottom. I can see some flour, and then just run the spatula across the bottom and then give it one good final mix. And then of course, we cannot forget our rhubarb that's been sitting. I'm gonna add most of this in here and then just fold it together. I'm just going to reserve maybe 2 or 3 tablespoons just to add to the top, but that's totally optional. I'm also adding in some of this rhubarb juice. And now we're folding this all together, running the spatula around the sides and then across the bottom and just making sure the rhubarb gets evenly distributed in the cake. I have here a 9-inch cake pan. And I just buttered the sides and then added a round of parchment to the bottom. And now we'll add on the rest of our rhubarb. And this is so incredibly optional, but I like to add a little sprinkle of either demerara or turbinado sugar. This is gonna go in the oven for 40 to 45 minutes. Our cake is done baking. I'm just gonna let it cool in here for 5 to 10 minutes before I turn it out and let it cool all the way. Always the best part. There's really nothing like rhubarb. Tart and sweet with the vanilla cake. Thank you so much for watching our video. We hope you try to make this cake. And we hope you can still get your hands on rhubarb at this time of year. We'll see you for the next video. Bye.